Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Coconino High School baseball coach Michael Sifling. He joins the show to review his first year coaching the program, his involvement with club baseball, and give some tips on how to stay sharp this offseason. We'll then be joined by Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. He'll break down how players can take advantage of the golf course this offseason, discusses the growth of golf and what the future of the sport might look like. But when we return from break, we'll be joined by American Heritage Academy Athletic Director Jake McCune. He'll speak about new sports programs the school has added, the importance of participating in sports, and talks about his career. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by American Heritage Academy Athletic Director Jake McCune. Jake, welcome onto the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, we are very, very happy to have you. American Heritage Academy is a learning establishment here in Cottonwood. I'll have Jake talk a little bit more about the school itself in just a few minutes. If you're watching along with us here on Verde Valley TV, Jake is currently inside, I believe, your guys' gymnasium, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in between classes and offices right now, so this is kind of my office, so it works out well.
Well, that's good because we get a kind of a visual as to some of the stuff that we are going to be talking about. I got a chance to speak with your guys' I believe Mr. Dirksen is the principal of American Heritage Academy, and we talked a little bit about some of the sports programs that you guys are starting up and that you have and you offer at the school. And just kind of talk a little bit about, non-AIA sports, which is really interesting. We haven't done that yet on the show. So, Jake, first and foremost, I'd love to talk a little bit about how you got your career started and what led you to this current position here.
So I go back about, I can take my career all the way back to 4 years old. I started playing t-ball, worked my way through, went to Apache Junction High School, where I was a 3-sport letterman: football, basketball, and baseball, and got out of school. I helped coach there the next year with Rich Milligan. And then I kind of took a different route and went a different way. In 2004, Max Ragsdale, who actually was the head coach for Campo Verde down in the Valley now, he was actually the head coach at Apache Junction High School at the time. He took me in and I started my coaching career there as far as the AIA goes. I coached varsity with Max. And then after that, I started my law enforcement career. So once again, I got away from it. Other than I helped out BGYFL, which is the Black and Gold Youth Football League there in Apache Junction. Did that. I ran a couple of club baseball teams as well. Continued my law enforcement career, got out. Funny story is my dream job had always been to be a coach teacher. Okay. Life happens, takes you away from it. I was done traveling and looking for a job, and I applied here, came in. Mr. Dirksen actually said, "Hey, we have a science school opening." I said, "Okay, well, let me talk to my wife." Got that. He's like, "Well, do you do athletics?" I'm like, "I love athletics. I think it's a very instrumental part of what kids need to have." And he's like, okay, well, we want to start going that route with it. And, that was in December. In May, we were able to, we went through the AIA first unfortunately, we really didn't get a lot of feedback from them. And they're busy. It's a busy time of year. We understand that. But CAA took us in with open arms, which I was familiar with due to Cactus Canyon Junior High, which is Apache Junction High School's junior high program. So I'm like, oh, that's a great thing. We were able to get in that. As far as the role I'm in now, I was a coach. I went to have my blood drawn because I had a surgery in June. Well, I came back, our other coaches and Mr. Dirksen actually voted me to be the athletic director because CAA needed to.
Yeah.
Little did he know this is my dream job, and he's going to hear that now, but I'm extremely excited about what we're going to offer. But coming from a player to a coach to just being able to help these kids is what I have on my heart. And I have coaches that were instrumental in my life. I was raised by a single mom. So my coaches in high school were like my adopted dads. And it was phenomenal to have them in my lives. And if I can give back even a inch of what these coaches gave me, then we'll be doing good.
Well, and how interesting, Coach, that your career really does come full circle with sports. I mean, you talk about even having like a law enforcement career wedged in between being a player and then coming to your current position here with American Heritage Academy. So it's really cool to see a fellow person following their passions and, trying to make what they want to do work. And it's very inspiring and very, very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course, Coach. I mean, like I said, I'm doing the same thing right now. This interview right here is this is what I want to do. So I like I said, I see the passion, and it's really cool to see. I'd love to talk a little bit more about what American Heritage Academy is. Can you just give us sort of like a baseline description as to what you guys are, where you guys are, and what you do?
So American Heritage Academy has a great foundation. It's been around for a long time. Sports have unfortunately fell off a little bit. We're in Cottonwood, Arizona, which if any of you know that, we're close to Sedona. That's usually where a lot of people listening to you will kind of be able to relate a little bit better. We have Mingus Union High School here. They are a big school. So as far as comparisons with that go, we don't have a lot in comparison with them. What we do bring to the table is our academics. We have phenomenal teachers. We have a phenomenal staff that care. They care about learning of these kids. What we're trying to see where we've seen a little bit of drop off in our high school is in our high school athletics. That's where our new staff wants to bring back and be able to run with the athletic programs where these kids can come here and actually excel and actually see, because we do have some incredible athletes that we do lose to not having those programs. So what we're trying to do is bring that back to American Heritage Academy.
Coach, you talk about sort of that almost drop off after middle school going into high school. Why do you think that happens? Is it just maybe a lack of passion? Maybe just things, life just gets in a way? I mean, why do you think there's a little bit of a drop off around that high school time?
So what I see here as, and a new guy with a new set of eyes coming in, what I see is like I said, we have a lot of good athletes. Mingus actually provides these clubs, these associations, these teams. These kids actually get to go there and try to fulfill their dreams with some of the things that we don't offer here at this time. So that's where I believe the drop off is. We are a school that has the ability to be incredible in not only academics, but in athletics, also in the arts. I mean, we have an incredible stage that's behind me. You can't see it right now. That comes out. We have a great art program. So it's not only the athletics and the academics, but we have other ways to excel here as well. And in saying that, we also have smaller classrooms. So our students are actually getting one-on-one with our teachers instead of sometimes, it's easy at a big school. I attended a big school. Sometimes you get lost in that shuffle. Yeah. We don't do that here.
Well, and I know how you feel. I got lucky when I was in high school. I went to a brand new high school, so we did have smaller class sizes just because we didn't have enough of a population. But I agree, opting for either, in my instance, a new school as opposed to an older school, or going to a smaller school as opposed to a bigger one, or going to a public school or a charter school, those classroom sizes really kind of determine a lot. I mean, it is really tough. I took a few community college classes that were 50 plus people because of just availability. And it's tough to find a seat. It's tough to find, get one-on-one help, to get attention from your teacher. So, small classroom sizes are great. Another thing that's different between you guys, and we mentioned it a little bit, is of course, Mingus and your 4A, your 1A through 6A schools are going to be AIA governing boards. So they'll obviously fall under all the rules and regulations of the NFHS and the AIA. But you guys are Canyon Athletics. Can we talk a little bit about some of the differences there and just maybe some of the classifications that you guys fall under now?
Well, it's very similar to the AIA.
Right.
Maybe not as strict in certain areas. What I'm seeing with them, and I'm still learning, so forgive me, I don't have all the information on them yet, but from what I'm seeing, they're very willing to work with schools. They want the schools to participate. They want the kids to have the letters. This year we will be on max preps, so our kids will actually start getting viewed on that. Where I'm saying the restrictions come is they're a very well-rounded association. They like to take each student athlete on an individual basis. So it's not just a lot of things that the AIA does, this, and I'm not bashing them for it. They have reasons for doing it, is they paint a lot of things with a broad brush, where the CAA still doesn't do that as much.
Okay. Let's talk about some of again, we were speaking with American Heritage Academy athletic director Jake McCune. They are a charter school in Cottonwood, Arizona. Coach, let's talk about some of those sports programs that you guys offer.
So our middle school level, what we're doing this year, we're going to do baseball, which unfortunately we don't have a high school program yet, but that's what I am looking into building. A middle school basketball program for boys this year. Hopefully it's going to lead into girls as well. Mm-hmm. But we do have volleyball for girls, we have cross country for girls, and we have softball for girls at middle school.
Oh, very nice.
Also, and our coach Jason Winkler, who is our wrestling coach, actually started last year and had a lot of success at a wrestling program, which will offer the middle school and high school levels. High school we're going to offer this year is going to be basketball, cross country, and wrestling. Unfortunately, that's all we're going to be able to really offer this year, just due to economics and also coaches wise. We are looking into flag football for next year, but that'll be next year. And it kind of all depends on where we go from here. Our cross country, and I'm going to put this out here, I'm just going to give us a little bit of a blurb if I can. We're going to be running at Dead Horse Park. We've already got a course set up. We're going to get it certified. It's a beautiful course, and we'll keep you guys informed on that.
Very nice. So that's great, Coach. So obviously, my next question was going to be, what programs are you guys looking to add maybe next season? You talk about a flag football program. Are there any that have been kind of tossed around? I know, obviously, there are a lot of factors that kind of go into potentially adding programs because, like you said, staffing challenges, economic challenges, getting enough kids to participate, So just out of curiosity, are there any others that you guys have been throwing around?
We are. So we're looking at high school baseball and softball. We're looking at tennis and golf as well. This is going to be a funny one, but I guess other schools are doing it. We're looking at an EA sport program. We're looking at doing that. So those are the ones that we're looking at moving forward as we get through this year.
Yeah, esports has definitely been a very, very popular, sort of not necessarily new thing, but a thing that is gaining a lot of popularity at the high school level. And I'm assuming the middle school level now, since it's making its potential way over to American Heritage, which offers both. But I know a lot of schools that surround you in the Verde Valley are definitely starting up esports programs. There are obviously other high schools in Northern Arizona, in Maricopa County, in Tucson that offer esports. It's a really big thing. And it's interesting because, you and I come from a world, even, with our generation difference. Realistically, we come from a world where kids were physically playing sports, where, you You wanted to play football, you had the video games, but if you wanted to play football, you had to go play football. You wanted to go to college for baseball, you had to play actual baseball. But now esports has opened up this whole world of possibilities where kids don't necessarily, have to participate in traditional sports to see success in college and see other opportunities. So esports is definitely something that I am very mixed on, but I see a lot of the benefit of it.
And I'm mixed on it as well. Like you said, we come from the generations of you play outside when you're talking sports there. However, in my illustrious age that I am now, I have learned that, you know what, if the kids are doing something, that's a good thing.
Of course. And I've slowly am coming around to that opinion as well. My worry is that, video games will overtake physical sports. I don't actually think that'll happen. It's more of just kind of like a tinfoil hat conspiracy I have. Sure. But I agree. Them participating, giving themselves an opportunity to be successful in something they're passionate about. Going to college is obviously very important. It's great. It doesn't matter however you get there. But again, we are speaking with American Heritage Academy Athletic Director Jake McCune. Jake, can we talk a little bit about some of the great coaches you have on staff? If there are any names that you wanted to shout out, some coaches doing some good stuff while you guys get started.
I do. So we put this team together in kind of a rush. David Rahm, who has been doing our club tennis and our club golf, and he's one of the high school teachers. He's actually the one that got in touch with CAA and actually got this ball rolling. So I want to give him a tremendous shout out. Other coaches we have, Amy Collins, she's going to be doing our girls volleyball, our varsity volleyball team. Emily Lincoln will be doing our middle school volleyball and also, I'm trying to think now, our middle school softball, I'm sorry about that. Kim McCune, she's going to do our middle school cross country. Jason Winkler will be doing cross country wrestling. Myself, I'm going to be doing basketball, junior high basketball and junior high baseball. We have Jeremy Rocha will be coaching our high school basketball team. These coaches have just been tremendous. We've got a lot of work to do before we even get ready for the season because CAA, they are mandating that we do certifications. I can't talk today, and I apologize for that. Certifications for getting coaches qualified. Yeah. So, and it's NFHS. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Yep. NFHS. Yep.
So we had to do that, and it's a no joke class. It takes a while to get through the modules, or they're not just okay, I'm yawning taking this module. It's actually stuff that we need to know to be able to do this. And these coaches have all gotten on it. They're getting through it, and we're ready to go for this season.
Well, very exciting stuff going on at American Heritage Academy in Cottonwood. Athletic Director Jake McCune, thank you very much for coming on the show and breaking down your career and talking to us about your school in Cottonwood. And best of luck going forward. I can't wait to see the programs grow and you guys add more sports. And, it'll be really interesting to see where you guys go from here. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you very much for having us. We'll be in touch. Appreciate it.
Of course. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Coconino High School baseball coach Michael Sifling. Don't go anywhere. Off the bench. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Coconino High School baseball coach Michael Sifling. Coach Sifling, welcome back onto the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, we are very happy to have you, Coach. The last time we talked, the Panthers were wrapping up their regular season, getting ready for their final game against Flagstaff High School at Chase Field. What ended up happening is, of course, the Panthers did get an opportunity to participate in the play-in round in the playoffs, Coach, against Flagstaff High School, which I know you love that rivalry. I just want to ask, Coach, I know that game didn't particularly go in your guys' favor, but just so in general, how did you feel the regular season went? How did you feel the postseason went? And how did you feel just overall in your first year?
So I felt the season was very successful. Saw a lot of growth in our players, a lot of our juniors and sophomores this year, which are going to be juniors and seniors this coming season, which I really can't even wait for that to get started to see how these kids can perform out there. Of course, the Chase Field game was huge, was a great game. Neither team deserved to lose. As much as it hurts me to say that about our rival, but they played very well. I mean, you had a high school game that finished 4-3 on the biggest stage ever, and there were no errors committed. So it was just huge. And that kind of propelled us through that last week of the season to get ready for playoffs. And no one likes to not win the state title, but when you reflect back, great year, great group of kids. Looking forward to having them all back next year.
Talking about that Chase Field game, Coach, how exciting is it for you as a coach to get an opportunity to be, I know we've talked about your experiences with Chris Woodard. I know you've been inside of a major league dugout before, but I mean, to get the opportunity to coach a team on that field, I mean, what did it mean to you just to have that experience? And I mean, what did it mean to you to kind of coach along across the field from a guy in Michael Dobosh, who has been with Flagstaff for so long? Obviously Coach Dobosh retired after this year. Just, how did that experience altogether just feel for you?
It was surreal. It was really just trying to be where your feet were and be in that moment. And that was difficult, because for that 2 hours, you felt like you were a Major League Baseball player. The kids just trying to get them to be where their feet were and be excited, but at the same time, understand that the game can't be bigger than them.
Right.
So you talk about a life lesson and things like that they can use moving forward. That's just one of the many that baseball or sports in general provides these athletes. So it was just a great opportunity. The hardest part is trying to get everybody in the game and still be competitive, because it is a region game and it was toward the end of the season and we needed those PowerPoints. So, just a great opportunity for them and for my coaching staff. It was just a great day.
Coach, getting back to kind of the playoffs, like I said, you guys get into that play-in round. You're going to be welcoming back a solid group of talent this year. We kind of talked a little bit about who Coach is going to be getting back next season and who's graduating. So if you want to check that out, see our previous interview with Coach Siffling. Goes in a little more depth to some of the guys that they're going to be bringing up next season. But more so, Coach, for those guys, maybe a couple of JV players made it up to the playoff roster, or, I know you had a couple sophomores and juniors, obviously guys you're going to be getting back next season. But how does this postseason experience help them going forward?
It's understanding the speed of the game and understanding the, I guess it's the simplicity, but yet the technical part of the game. And just getting them their feet wet in that experience. So just getting them out there, being part of that group, that socializing with the returning, seniors this year.
Yeah. And
those types of things are just going to help them moving forward.
What about some of your seniors, Coach? Any guys get an opportunity to play at the next level?
Certainly. Tanner Johnson went ahead and signed with Gateway Community College. He's pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Cole Gillespie is still weighing his options. I believe he's got a school in Seattle in mind. So we're waiting to see how that pans out for him. But only having two seniors, I mean, those are the two guys that are looking to play at the next level.
Yeah. And of course, for you as a coach, how great is it to see those guys get an opportunity to compete at the next level, even if they don't get a scholarship through baseball?
Exactly. Yeah. Just so they can further their education. There's so many schools out there and there's so much talent that goes around, but there's a place for all of them. You just got to search, knock on doors, and find a place that's going to be home for the next 2 to 4 years and go, get that education. So that's a big push that we have in our program. We're very proud of those two guys. And They're getting, not only are they getting great ball players, they're getting great kids. And that's means more to me than anything else.
Coach, do you think, with sort of the emergence of, a lot of these subsidiary leagues, obviously the NFL has seen, the XFL come back, the USFL providing more options for, players after college. You see a lot of baseball players going to overseas ball or playing in Australia or playing potentially here in the US for a minor league team or an amateur team. So I want to ask, do you feel that the days of having to go to a major Division I program to be seen are kind of gone? We even here in Northern Arizona, we have Yavapai College, which is one of the best community colleges regarding baseball. A lot of guys have come through this area just to get to the next level. So I'm just curious, have we been, or are we approaching the days where a guy can go, hey, I'm going to go to option number 2, or I'm going to go to this community college here, and then I'm going to maybe think about transferring to a Division I. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, that's how Avery Weems ended up with University of Arizona, right? He started with the Yavapai, went to University of Arizona, and then was drafted by the White Sox. Now, I think he's AA with the Texas Rangers. So definitely stepping stones, because some kids, find it earlier than others. Some are just physically stronger at that age than others.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you're aware of this, but we're also hosting the Flagstaff Star Chasers, which is a collegiate team made up of, kids from all over the U.S. and Japan. I just was reading in the newspaper. So they're using our field as their home field this season for their league. And that's opened up opportunities for a lot of our younger players to go, because we can go practice with them. We can line up, take ground balls with them, and we're getting firsthand instruction from not only college coaches, but from college players.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, even that collegiate baseball team, those provide a lot of opportunities for guys who are looking to get back into the college landscape. I worked for the Palm Springs Power before I got this position, and we had a bunch of guys who were either looking to see more playing time at their university, or they were coming and they're going to be a senior and they just wanted more work, or they were looking at trying to get looked at by an amateur team or potentially, another smaller school. So really, there is a lot of opportunity outside of the traditional routes to really be seen and get an opportunity to play at the next level. You talk about Avery Weems, a guy who's from this area, went to Yavapai College, is now with the Rangers. It's very, very exciting, and you never know where opportunity is going to present you. But it's interesting, Coach, that we've seen this shift a little bit where guys don't feel they have to go to the major universities and really can see a lot of success starting out at a Gateway or starting out at a Phoenix College or wherever, really. Coach, getting more back on track here with the season, the region was very tough this year. You had a tough battle with Flagstaff at the end of the season, one in the regular season, one in the play-in round. So just real quick, I feel like we've talked about it a little bit, but how did you feel about the region this year going into next season?
Well, I'll tell you what, Grand Canyon region is the toughest region out there. I mean, hands down. When you place every team in the region outside of one in the playoff round, that's a very tough region. So, throw your records out. Bradshaw's going to bring back a really good class. Flag High, they're going to be loaded again. Lee Williams with Coach Smith over there, they've got a great incoming freshman class. Mm-hmm. Just up and down the rosters, it's going to be tough again. There's no gimmies.
No, and that's always fun with a region like the Grand Canyon region. It really does shift hands a lot. You get 1 year where you get like you said, Bradshaw's strong program. They're going to be strong next season. You get a couple years where maybe they're on top, and then, Coconino slips on top for a couple of years, and then Mingus slips on top for a couple of years. It's always interchanging. And like you said, Coach, for most of the region, not only just in baseball, but also softball, to make it into the playoffs is absolutely incredible. And I mean, even football, there was a good chunk of our football teams here in the region that made it into the postseason. And I'm sure there's other sports I'm missing, but regardless, I mean, what a very impressive year in general across the board for this small region here in Northern Arizona. We always talk about Tucson and Maricopa County, but really there is some good sports being played up here in the northern part of the state. One of the great programs is this one right here. We're talking with Coconino High School baseball coach Michael Sifling. Coach, it's off-season time. What is the plan for the off-season? I know that your lower level coaches handle club ball, which we will talk about in a little bit. But, just sort of what's the plan? Any tournaments on the horizon? What are you guys looking to do?
So we do have two teams. We have the Peaks A and B team. A team is a lot of returning varsity kiddos, and then our B team is a lot of the incoming freshmen and the freshmen that will be sophomores next year. Both are designed to be, developmental, and just progress, get better. It's not about wins and losses during the travel ball season, although winning is fun. Don't get me wrong. But for me personally, just being able to go out and not have the responsibilities of the day-to-day practice and grind, but to be able to go out and just kind of sit back and observe.
Yeah.
Watch how they act with each other. Watch how they act in the dugout. Saturday, I was able to go watch the lower level guys go play at Flag High School. In fact, they were playing the Bradshaw team. But just to kind of be there and see, and then as you observe stuff, and they come in the dugout, you just kind of pull them off the side and you talk and, hey, prep step as the pitcher's going to the plate. Hey, you don't have to commit so far from short on a back pick. Just be, so it's just the little parts of the game that you're able to just instruct and just kind of be a part of them, see how they're gelling.
Yeah. And what a good opportunity for you as well. You talk about kind of sitting back and watching a lot of these upcoming guys. I mean, it gives you an idea, of course, of, okay, where can I start plugging these guys in? What this freshman looks pretty solid at short. Is he better than my junior? Is he worse than my junior? So what a good opportunity is as well for you to get an idea as to who's coming up. Do you have any advice, Coach, for any kids who may not be participating in club this season? I know you've got kids who play multiple sports, so some of them might be more focused on football right now, or might be more focused on the upcoming, I'm forgetting fall sports, but insert fall sport here. Maybe soccer can be a better example. Actually, that's a winter sport. Never mind. I promise I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Coach, do you have any tips or drills for anybody to kind of just keep their baseball mind sharp throughout the off season until we get closer to the spring?
So a lot of it is just self-driven and their drive right. I would encourage them play catch. Just go out and play some catch. Doesn't have to be high intense. Get stronger in the weight rooms. Just be active. We encourage multi-athlete sport athletes here at Coconino, and a lot of our coaches support all the other programs. In fact, I just went over a little while ago and checked in on the football team in the weight room just to say hello to the coaches and encourage the athletes. So we do a lot of that. Our batting cages are up all year long, and we have an area that we store some tees and some balls. So kids have access to that all the time, especially if they don't have, the room or the space at home. They can always come over here without having to ask and just work off a tee a little bit. Just little things like that. Nothing too serious, right? I'm a big fan. And at some point, you got to shut down the arm and let it just rest.
Right.
And in fact, they were talking about that in the College World Series yesterday. The announcers were talking about, arm fatigue.
Yeah.
So, just, watch the game. I encourage them, just watch the game, learn, increase your IQ. So just stuff like that.
Okay. How can somebody, take advantage of just the baseball field in general? Like you said, you guys obviously have, some tees and some batting opportunities there for some guys if they need it. But, what about fielding? What about pitching? Are there any kind of tips you may have for some guys? I know you just said kind of rest the arm, give it a break a little bit, but, guys want to work as much as they can. So, do you have any sort of other advice regarding those two? Just trying to keep it loose.
Yeah, just loose, nothing too intense. A lot of times I'll go out there and it'll just be a buddy hitting ground balls to another player.
Yeah.
They'll say, hey, there's nothing to do. Let's go take some ground balls. Let's go take some fly balls. Yeah. So we encourage that and make it available for them.
Gotcha.
Now, during June and the first part of July, we've got 3 teams playing on that field constantly because we got our 2 Peaks teams and then the collegiate teams out there.
Right.
So a lot of times I'll encourage them, just go watch the collegiate team. And if you get a chance, jump in some reps with them.
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot of them that I would say sit at home and just play video games all day. They're doing something. We've got basketball going on right now. We've got, like I said, the weight room, and they're doing a lot of 7-on-7 competitions with the football team. So they're active, they're busy. And to me, that's more important than anything else.
Again, we were speaking with Coconino High School baseball coach Michael Sifling. Coach, just got one last question for you here before we let you go. Kind of just, you have any kind of preview as to what we can maybe expect next season? I got a glimpse at the schedule just a little bit. I know it's going to change by the time we get to the spring. Tournaments will be added. Maybe some extra games will be thrown in. But just looking on the surface, I mean, are there any games that you're excited about, whether they be in region or out of region?
They're all exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one game at a time, one day at a time. They're all exciting.
Okay.
It's always nice to beat your rival. They'll have a new coach this year, so that should be interesting to see, if things change or they keep things the same. Bradshaw is always a lot of fun to play because you know what you're going to get. Prescott's the same way. I mean, you can go up and down. Coach Estrada over at Mingus, he had a great young group of ball players.
Yeah.
I mean, that catcher for them was just phenomenal. So they're going to be someone to contend with, right? And we just got a lot of good coaches in the region that know how to get the most or best out of their players. So it's a lot of fun to be part of this program and to be part of this Grand Canyon region. We have 4 or 5 incoming freshmen that I'm so excited about. Now, it's going to be tough to make a varsity roster when I have 11 returners.
Right.
But as sophomores, these kids are going to be difference makers. So pretty excited about it. Looking forward to it. I can't wait for February to get here.
Well, Coach, we all share in the exact same excitement you have for the upcoming baseball season. Again, Coconino High School baseball coach Michael Sifling, thank you very much for coming on the show. Have a great summer, and I look forward to catching up again.
Sounds great. Thanks, Phil, for having me.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. Coach Behm, welcome back onto the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're happy to have you, Coach. We're about a month removed or so from the end of the season, so we thought we'd catch up with Coach Behm and talk about how the playoffs went. Coach, the last time you and I talked, you guys were getting ready for the end of the season, getting close to the start of state playoffs, I believe. It's been 2 months. How'd the playoffs go?
Unfortunately, none of our players qualified for state this year. We had one gentleman, Trevor Stasinski, extremely close. He missed it by 2 spots. Guy Bowen and Ben Tenburge made a good run at it, but we just couldn't get there.
Yeah. What in seasons like this, Coach, where you guys just barely missed the mark? I mean, what do you tell them at the end of the year, and what kind of assessment do you give them when the season's done?
With Trevor, I told him to look at the positive, that he had made it the year before and that this year the competition was a bit tougher and that he could leave as a senior proud of his accomplishments at Chino Valley High School.
Oh, that's nice.
Ben and Guy, I told them to use this as motivation to practice more during the off season and to be a little bit more diligent when it comes to their practice routines.
Well, speaking of the offseason, Coach, like I mentioned, obviously we're done with the season at this point. What is the plan for the offseason? Do you have anything scheduled for your returning players? Do you have any sort of invitationals you guys might be participating in? Any kind of club golf? I'm not sure if that's actually a thing, but just, what's the plan for the offseason?
Right now, we have nothing officially planned. Most of the members of the golf team are multi-sport individuals. So it's really difficult to pull them away from a fall sport or a winter sport in preparation for a spring sport. They are taking advantage of going over to Antelope Hills, using the range at Antelope, getting some practice rounds in on their own as teammates, finding the areas that they think they're going to need to work on when season resumes in February.
So from now until that time, Coach, I know, like you just said, you got a couple guys who are, maybe focusing on the football season coming up, or, track and field, or I say cross country. Actually, that's fall, not track and field. They're focusing on other sports right now. So, I want to ask then, for those guys who are splitting time, I mean, what kind of tips do you have for a player who may be, trying to, fix their swing a little bit, or work on their short game, or work on their putts, while also, trying to balance football practice? Do you have any tips for anyone who might be balancing those two kind of sports?
I tell them to focus on the sport that's in season.
Okay.
They owe it to their teammates. They owe it to their coach to focus on that. But put a little time into golf, but keep a good balance. Be fair to your teammates on the in-season sport.
Well, then let's take it more from a general standpoint, Coach. Removing your guys from the equation, how does a golfer, let's say a year-round golfer, how do they take advantage of the golf course during the year? Or I'm sorry, during the off season?
Antelope Hills has a policy with the members of the high school golf teams that they're allowed one bucket of range balls a day. And after, I believe it's 3:00, they have access to the south course or the north course on a standby basis. And I encourage them to utilize the kindness of Antelope Hills.
Okay. Like I said, let's break that down then, Coach. You talk about your guys getting the bucket of range balls. I mean, how does that sort of help prepare them for the season, or just kind of keep them, fresh for the year as the off season goes along?
It allows them the opportunity to groove their swing, to find the swing that they're comfortable with, and also just to get out and relax and not have any pressure on themselves to perform to a certain level of expectation. And oftentimes in golf, the more relaxed you are, the better you play.
Okay. What about like you working on your short game or working on your second stroke? Obviously you've already got the first initial drive. You're working more on you're hitting from the green, hitting from the fairway, trying to get onto the green. What about that? What are some tips, or what are some things you can do to sort of work on that aspect of your game, going from the drive and then trying to make it closer to the hole or the pin?
What you do is you play a simulated hole. You take your driver, you hit it, you get the approximate yardage. Say it's a 395-yard par 4. You hit your drive 240, 250. You then select the club that you would hit for your second shot and just continue simulating holes like that instead of just getting up and pounding balls with drivers. However, the teenage mentality, you put range balls in front of them, they want to pull out the driver and beat it up, which my adult friends do the same.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't have an entire team of John Daly's out there, hitting about 200 to 300 yards down the fairway. So, I like that. I do have to ask, Coach, when picking your club after that first initial drive, I mean, how do you sort of gauge the range or how much is needed in terms of, moving on from a driver to more of like a wedge or more to like a 7-iron?
You use the distance flags on the range as a guideline. And it's all approximate. Sometimes you may have hit a mediocre drive, but you want to practice your 9-iron or your pitching wedge. But it just keeps you away from the mentality of just beating up the driver.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about, you made it onto the green, you're about ready to putt. What about working on putts? I mean, are there any kind of tips you have or any kind of drills that maybe some young golfers can pick up while they're working on that short stroke?
The first tip I would give is never hit 2 golf balls from the same position. you don't get two chances at a putt in a match. So drop a ball, hit it from there, move 5 or 6 feet, get a different break, get a little bit different angle, and keep doing a rotation around the hole. And I would encourage more time spent on putts 5 feet and less than the longer putts.
Do you see that more averaging out as to what like a lot of high school kids have to deal with?
Yes.
Okay.
Euphemistically, it's known as the 3-foot circle of love. If you can lag your putt into a 3-foot radius around the hole every time, then you've done well, and working on the 5-foot and under putts will pay off.
Okay. Again, we were speaking with Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm. The Cougars have wrapped up their season already. We're just talking with Coach about the offseason in general. Coach, just real quick regarding your team. I mean, is there any area, I know, like you said, you got a lot of guys who are focusing on other sports right now, potentially, but of course, golf is still in their mind. Is there any area you'd like to see your team improve in from last year? Is it that short game? Is it the long drive? Or is it any other aspect?
I'd like to see them practice on their course management skills.
Okay.
Knowing that not on every hole do you tee off with the driver. Some holes it's advantageous to go off with the 3-wood or a 5-wood or even a 4-iron. In managing where they position the ball in the fairway based upon pin location to avoid trouble.
Okay.
Oftentimes, younger golfers all golfers, I can't really just pick on the younger ones, will just ready, aim, fire, and hope the ball lands in the fairway instead of saying, if I angle it to the right just a little bit, I have a better chance of coming in, avoiding a trap, or playing the angle of the green, the slope of the green a little bit better.
Okay. I want to get a little existential, Coach, regarding just sort of the sport throughout the years. Before you and I had our first interview, you gave me a little bit of a bio. I know you've been coaching golf for a while. You've been around the sport as well. So I want to ask, how have you seen the sport of golf grow? Because, I mean, when I was growing up, it's not necessarily a sport I wasn't interested in, but it just wasn't as exciting for a kid who played baseball and basketball and didn't get a lot of opportunities to golf. It wasn't until I was in like middle school and going into high school where I actually got to go out onto a golf course and actually swing some clubs, where I realized, oh, I get why people enjoy this sport. It's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing and it's a lot of fun. But I want to ask, Coach, have you seen this sport grow in popularity with the younger population throughout the years? And how have you seen it make its way into the high school realm and become one of the more premier sports for kids to get scholarships?
It's becoming more popular because it is an outdoor sport. It's a sport where the individual excels and is more easily noticed. But it's also one of the reasons it's growing is because it's a sport of friendship. What I've noticed on the Chino Valley team is the kids have developed some lasting friendships over the years playing golf. They still communicate with one another. And a local teaching pro up here, John Gunby, refers to golf as an acronym as great opportunity for lifetime friendships.
Well, that was something you and I had talked about the last time we talked, was just more so the longevity of being able to play golf as opposed to a sport like football, where, of course, I play basketball and baseball with guys who I'm still friends with. There's obviously the friendship aspect of that, but I'm not necessarily playing baseball or football or basketball all the time. But golf is something that I can play with my friends for a very, very long time. So I like that, Coach. I do agree. There is, and you mentioned it a lot last time we talked, the gentleman aspect, or sort of the respect that the professionalism that is attached with golf as well. It is very much a chess game and a very, very strategic and mentally, I don't want to say draining, but it's a mental sport is what I'm saying. I have no mental capacity, but golf players do. Thankfully, I don't golf.
Well, it makes you think.
Right. That's a much better way to put it.
The better golfers are thinkers. Mm-hmm. They know where to position the ball. They know where their strengths are. They know where their weaknesses are. and they think themselves around the course.
Yeah.
But again, as we talked earlier, it's a game of integrity. It's a game of sportsmanship where golfers are the only only participants in the sport where they self-govern.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, at some of the major invitationals and at the state tournaments, we have rules officials on the course. And in weekly matches, the other coaches and the host coach act as rules officials. But generally, the kids self-govern,
right.
And they're very good about it. They're very good about saying, well, you know what? Tommy from XYZ school, he better learn to count a little bit better. And they'll work with each other on it. So that's what I like about it. It's a sport of integrity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there is a lot of individual aspects to golf as well. And this is kind of something that I'm sure you and I have talked about, or I've definitely talked with other golf coaches and track and field coaches. Those sports, wrestling as well, that have sort of those individual finishes and aren't necessarily a team sport that you would think so. But I mean, like you said, Coach, there's obviously a huge team aspect to your team. There's that friendship aspect. I mean, everybody just wants everyone to do better. And that's nice to hear. I do want to ask, we see a lot of trends in other sports. I've talked to death about the trend of the 3-point line with basketball coaches, but I want to ask with you, Coach, have you seen any trends come and go throughout the sport of golf, whether it be, a different grip on the driver or maybe more guys wearing red polos because of Tiger Woods? I'm not sure what you've noticed throughout the years, but have there been any trends that have come and gone that you've kind of have either stuck with you or if you've just kind of been glad they've moved away?
The one trend that was very prevalent for a while was the grip it and rip it attitude. How far can I hit my driver? And if it ends up in the rough a little bit, I'll just muscle my way out of it. And a lot of the better golfers are getting away from that. They're more managed. They're more disciplined. But the grip it or rip it attitude came off the pro circuit. Most of the junior golfers are very good emulators of what they see on TV for good and for bad. And if they see the Vijay Singhs, the John Daly's, the Dustin Johnsons just hitting it as hard as they can hit it and not worrying about keeping it in the fairway because they're so strong and their game is so good that they can get out of the rough easily.
Right.
A lot of the kids are moving away from that because they found out that they're not quite as good as getting out of the rough as was Dustin Johnson or John Daly.
Right.
And they're also finding out we don't have that much of a problem here in Arizona, but in other parts of the country where they have trees on golf courses, it's sometimes difficult to hit between trees.
Yes.
So they're a little bit more careful.
It's interesting you say the grip it and rip it approach, because I've noticed that a lot in baseball as well, where a lot of guys will try to adjust their swing to get more launch angle and send the ball over the fence when in a lot of ways, as a solid golf swing is going to drive the ball a lot further than a super hard, as aggressive as I can swing, because you're obviously not potentially getting enough contact on the ball. But Coach, I just have one last question before we let you go. The future of the sport, again, sort of referencing a trend, but I just want to ask, how do you think this sport could grow and continue to see popularity? And do you think that it may one day overtake some of the more traditional sports we think about at the high school level, like football or basketball or baseball, in terms of popularity?
The one thing we need to do as coaches is encourage the female participation more. There's not that many females participate on a ratio to males. Mm-hmm. We need to encourage the girls to play more. As far as it taking over the traditional sports, I don't think it'll ever happen. It will continue to grow. It will continue to develop. But because of the expense of lessons and equipment, no. Okay. That's why you're seeing a lot of schools really develop strong soccer programs, because soccer, any pair of shoes, a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, and an open field, you can go out and play it. golf, you have to be on a regimented playing field. Your mom and dad probably don't like you out in the backyard taking divots on the grass.
Sending a few fairway balls right into the old fence. Yeah, no, of course not.
Well, hitting the fairway balls in the fence is not the problem. Hitting the fairway balls through the neighbor's living room window might be.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Again, Chino Valley High School golf coach Jerry Behm, thank you very much for coming on the show and give us an update on the sport. We will definitely touch base again when we get closer to the start of the golf season. I appreciate your expertise, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Okay. We do have one event coming up here in Prescott. I'm trying to talk a couple more of the Chino Valley kids into participating in it. The Junior Golf Association of Arizona will be hosting the Prescott City Junior Championship in early July at Antelope Hills.
Okay.
One day we'll be playing on the north course, and the next day we'll be playing on the south course.
Awesome.
It's a very fun event, and it's one of the most popular events the Junior Golf Association puts on because the kids love coming to Prescott.
Awesome. Well, definitely something to look forward to. But again, Coach, thank you very much for coming on the show to talk about your team.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Off the Bench. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo, wishing you a great rest of your week. We'll see you again next time.